So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Neil again here, obviously, and that's not Paddy beside me. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Glen from the Total Saints podcast, and today we're going to talk a small bit about Danny Ings, the signing that nobody knew was going to happen, but everybody knew they wanted to happen, except for probably Glen and Southampton fans. That was sorry that I did. As I was saying that, I kind of went, I should be more respectful in the company that I'm keeping it.
That's all right, mate. That's
Glenn,
all right.
thanks so much for popping on. I really appreciate it.
No
Danny Ings is obviously a player that a lot of people are familiar with, playing in the league for so long. But no matter how familiar you can be with a player like Danny Ings, or even a lot of players, when they play for your team, you pick up in different idiosyncrasies and different kind of patterns for them. So I'm just delighted that you can pop on to have a little quick chat about him. But I suppose, firstly, what's kind of the feeling down Southampton way about Danny Ings leaving?
I think there's a whole load of reactions. There's a whole load of feelings about it. I'm old enough to not get too irate about it now, because we've been, as everyone knows, we've been picked apart in the past. Players have left who we didn't want to leave, and so it's kind of you shrug your shoulders a little bit and just say, well, that's the way it is. But I've seen everything from that right away down to complete meltdown. We're relegated already, and all this sort of stuff. So I think people find this one quite difficult because there was a sort of general feeling that he was. They thought he'd be here next year. I think there was a kind of feeling that we would rather keep him for a year and let him go for nothing. But when you think about it, that doesn't happen often, where teams make a decision and to get offered whatever it is, 30 million quid for a player with 1 year left on his contract, 29 years old. That on the face of it is quite good, but we've got to invest it wisely. I mean, if we buy another striker who scores 15, 16 goals next year, then people won't mind. But if we either don't sign anyone or sign someone who doesn't do anything, then obviously people are going to look at this as a difficult moment. But what can the board do? The player said that he wasn't going to sign a contract. The contract had been on the table for him for the best part of 6 to 8 months, I think. So.
Oh, wow.
I think there's, without wishing to be disparaging, there was a general feeling that he wanted to go to a Champions League club, and I know Villa are kind of upwardly mobile, but he hasn't done that. He's gone to Villa, so there's a bit of a feeling of, well, he's just followed the money, and when like the likes of Van Dijk go to Liverpool, you could he's moved to a club that's in the Champions League every season practically, and you can kind of accept that a little bit more. And even though Villa probably over the next 3 years are probably a better bet than Saints, they're not at the moment anyway, the Champions League club that we were led to believe that he was waiting for. So there's a bit of angst about it, a bit of anger about it, and but it is what it is, and it's the modern game. If you let players get to the end of their the last year of their contract, then the chances are they're going to go. Or if they've got £100 million release clauses.
Yeah. I deserve that after my intro. I deserve.
I had to get that one
in. no, but you are right. Look, I suppose you are right, because nobody in Villa, none of the Villa podcasts, none of the Villa beat writers, none of the Villa anything had a notion until we got this cheeky smile from Danny Ings, just on social media, and it was a case of, where the hell does this come from? Like, in this day and age, in this day where everybody has a camera on their phone, in this day and age, like, if he's half as good at banging in goals as he is at keeping secrets, I'll tell you, we'll have some striker on our hands because
there was kind of there was a link to Spurs.
Yes, that's what. Yeah, there was a link.
Earlier on. Now, in some ways, one of the good things about this being done as quickly as it has been is that we don't have to spend the rest of August waiting for Daniel Levy to offer £5 million, and then the media jump all, the London media jump all over it and print stories that wind you up and stuff like that. So someone put it to me that this is kind of ripped the Band-Aid off. It's kind of just, it's done. He's gone. Now we move on. We don't have to spend another month going, will he, won't he, and then wonder how motivated he's going to be next season if he's only got a year left, and then wondering again if we're going to accept 10 million in January or whatever. So in some ways it's a good thing. I do. I mean, to be honest, I'd rather he joined Villa than Spurs. That's for definite. But
agree on that one.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I think because the contract was on the table, and it was due to make him the highest paid player we'd ever had.
Oh, really? This is new information. I had no idea the contract was even on the table for that long.
Yes,
that's interesting.
It's been on the table for a long time. So for him to turn that down to move, I think there'll be a few people at boardroom level who will, I wouldn't say be pleased he's gone, but will maybe see a bright side in that they don't have to pay him, and they don't have to give a 29-year-old with. I mean, we're going to talk about it later. He obviously has a bit of an injury record.
Yeah,
29-year-old. Did we really want to tie up a player and on that amount of money? Being the wage structure that we've got. So yeah, it's not as clear cut as we've lost our best player. I mean, we've lost our best striker without a doubt when he's fully fit. But we have to move on.
And that's exactly that's the next place I wanted to get to there, is talk to me about his injury history. I think he played nearly, did he play every game last season? But there was a scare this season before when he went down clutching his knee. I think I remember I was watching the game. It could have even been against Aston Villa.
Yeah, it was.
And he does have that cruciate ligament history, I think, behind him.
When he signed for us, he signed on loan initially for a season, and he was 26 then, and he'd had the two major sort of knee reconstructions at Liverpool, and he signed for us. We were the only team that was in for him because of the problems that he'd had. He's obviously from this neck of the woods originally. He went to school in the same little sort of village on the outskirts of Southampton that I did. But obviously I went a lot of years earlier. So he's a Southampton boy, and he's been with us 3 seasons. In season 1 was disrupted because he was getting used to playing football regularly again, and he missed quite a few games in that season. Scored about 10 goals that season, I think. Second season he stayed fit throughout, and scored over 20. And if the Euros had been played when they were supposed to be, he would certainly have gone. He would certainly be in the England squad.
He exactly, and probably in Ollie Watkins' place. So this is something that I was thinking about.
Yeah, but then last season again it was fits and starts again. He would play 5 games, miss 3, play 4 games, miss another couple. So he did miss a few, and he got the worst injury he got last year was the one at Villa Park where his knee kind of folded under him, and when that happened, everyone was thinking, "Oh no, that's a year out job."
Yeah.
But as it turned out, it was only a month. But there was 2 or 3 sort of separate hamstring injuries last season where he missed a few games, and to be honest, the reason he missed out on the England squad is because the tail end of the season, when he was fit, he didn't look like he had the rhythm, you get from playing a number of games, because he was in and out of the side a little bit through sort of picking up little knocks. But it's, that's the way it is with him. And I think what Villa do have to do is manage his game time, properly. I mean, it's too obvious to say don't play him in any of the cup games, just keep him for the league games or whatever. Yeah. I don't know sort of like how Villa are going to play next year, whether they're going to play, I know they play basically with Watkins up front on his own this year, whether they'll play the 2 of them up front or what they'll do. But they do need to manage Ings' game time and make sure he's not overplayed, because that seems to be when he has problems.
Yeah. Well, when he is on the field, he is quite the goal scorer. Well, he has been over the last couple of seasons. He's certainly found his spark again since he's been at Southampton. Where do you feel he's most effective? Is he like where do you feel he's most effective when he's on the field? Obviously, I know he plays up top on his own, but if you were to say to me, a ball comes to Danny Ings in this position, he has a 70% chance of scoring that goal.
A lot of his goals are sort of cutting in from the left-hand side onto his right foot and passing it into the far corner of the net. I mean, what I will say about him, when he's fit and firing, in my opinion, he's a fantastic player, best English striker outside of Harry Kane, without a doubt. He's just got everything. He's intelligent movement. He works really hard. He presses really well. So he's always catching out defenders and goalkeepers, and just with his hard work. That's the style of football that Saints have played since Ralph Hasenhüttl's been there. It's all about pressing teams high up. Hugo Lloris doesn't like him. He's caught him a couple of times and scored against Spurs. So that he does work incredibly hard. He's very quick over the short distances. The 5 yards. He's not slow in a straight line sprint, but he's not going to
No, he's not built for it. Yeah, he's not
going to sprint past players, but he's certainly not slow. But the best thing about him is, the way he finds space all the time, and his finishing is incredibly economical. Like sometimes you don't even see that there's a chance and the ball ends up in the net and you just think, how's he done that?
Yeah.
So he does score goals out of nowhere. He's not really a lone striker. I mean, we've the last 2 seasons we've been playing with him and Che Adams, in what is our version of a 4-4-2 formation. So
4-2-2-2.
Yeah, 4-2-2-2. Yeah, I can't be bothered to explain all that. But he plays up front in a 2 basically. So I know Villa are going to have to sort of remodel their attack and play a bit this year, because I know the team was obviously set up and built around the guy who's left. So you're going to have to change the way you play. So maybe you'll play 2 up front. Danny Ings. I mean, he played at Liverpool when he did play. They played sort of like a front 3, and he played sort of to the left of the 3, kind of where Sadio Mane plays for them now. Different type of player, obviously. But so if Villa plays sort of like 3 up, he could kind of play off one side. But I would say he would be at his best playing up front with, obviously with Ollie Watkins, who you've already got.
And I think that makes sense, because last year we dabbled quite a lot with playing Ross Barkley in a very, very advanced position, almost like that second striker role up alongside Watkins. And when we were flying it at the start of the season, looking like 1970s Brazil, like it was just like, it was brilliant to see. And it was because I think we caught teams on the hop, because they go, right, Ross Barkley, he's going to play in this position. And next thing, all of a sudden, sometimes he was past Watkins when he was playing up there.
Yeah.
And then of course it went downhill from there. But I think that second striker type position, Watkins could even play that role where Barkley was playing and Ings. So the pliability, the maneuverability, the options, I suppose, that Dean Smith has up there will suit us, because last year we tapered off because Ollie Watkins played. Well, he would have played every minute of every game, only for he got a red card and he got sent off for diving, which when it wasn't even a dive. No. So it was but it's good to have those options, I think, and I think that's one of the positives that came from that 100 million transfer that happened yesterday, is the fact that we will have more of those options. But nice to hear about Ings, the fact that he's playing up front on his own may not be his thing. I think that we have horses to come in and help him in that aspect.
Yeah.
Where I suppose, like with Danny Ings, I have my own personal kind of feeling that Aston Villa are going to go to a kind of maybe a more, they're going to, because obviously Jack Grealish would take the ball and he would carry it, and you could literally watch him carry it 60 meters and not be surprised. This year, I think they're going to need to go a bit more direct. How is Danny Ings in the air? If you were to rate him in the air, what would he be out of 10?
Well, he's not your target man centre forward, obviously.
No.
I mean, he's good he's very good at the flicked headers. This is what I mean about sort of intelligence and movement. So when you've got, sort of like corners coming in, he's very good at getting across the front of across the front of defenders and flicking it. And that's another thing about his sort of like economy of finishing. He's very good at that sort of header from set pieces. But whether he's I wouldn't say he's at his best with players flying down the wing and chucking balls into the box where you need a big centre forward to sort of power the ball in the net. I wouldn't say that's necessarily his game, but he's not bad in the air, but he's not terrible. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what the stats are for how many goals he scores with his head, but he does seem to do sort of pretty well off of set pieces, be that headers or just getting into the space to steer it into the net.
Yeah, that's something that Aston Villa have missed an awful lot. Ollie Watkins, for all his great work, he's still adapting to being a striker in that aspect. He's a winger transformed to a striker at Brentford, and then obviously came to Villa and had a good season last season.
Yeah.
But I like to think that Ollie Watkins, like when he gets to the back post, and if he gets space at the back post, he's quite dangerous. But when the ball comes to him standing, he still needs to figure out what to do as a striker there. And I think I've even seen it in pre-season that he's good at it. He's gotten better at that now. But I think that that's probably where Danny Ings is going to make his money for Aston Villa, that he just knows he's that crafty old fox, I think, of a striker.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody who gets an injury early in their career and has to potentially adapt their game from hustle and bustle to that bit more intelligent, Teddy Sheringham type is what you want to really call it, because of the fact that first yard is in his head kind of a situation. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Danny Ings can bring to the table from that point of view. I'm going to touch on it, and I did mention this before, but I'm just going to touch on it. James Ward-Prowse obviously has been mentioned with Aston Villa. I personally don't think he's going to come to Aston Villa.
No.
He's been injured recently. Are you guys worried about losing him? Not just to Aston Villa, but to any team this summer?
Not really, because he's got 4 years on his contract.
Yeah.
So he's got 4 years on his contract.
We had a fellow with 4 years in his contract as well.
Yeah. These release clauses, you don't want to do them.
Yes.
So as far as I know, he hasn't got a release clause. He's got 4 years on his contract. He's our most important player. So for anyone to buy him, it's going to be a hell of a lot of money. I mean, I'm talking 60, 70 million, I would have thought. But you know how it is. If a team comes along and they put a decent amount of money down on the table properly, which is what Man City have done, with Grealish. They put down an amount of money which is acceptable to everybody. It's not like, as we've touched on earlier, Tottenham offering 10 million and then trying to unsettle the player to ask for a transfer and all that sort of jazz. So I personally think Ward-Prowse will be here next year, certainly. The common factor with Ward-Prowse and Ings is that they both got left out of the England squad. Now, I certainly think with Danny Ings, that was a factor to him definitely sort of like saying, right, I'm not staying at Southampton anymore. I want to move on. With Ward-Prowse, I think, he is the captain. He doesn't seem to be that sort of character to sort of want to agitate for a move. But we've been here before. We had it. We had Adam Lallana as captain, and we didn't think he was the type either. But he threw his toys out basically and demanded a move at one point. And it's a matter of interpretation whether he went on strike or not. But as far as I was concerned, refusing to play in a friendly, that's on strike. So. I wouldn't like to say for definite, but I would be more surprised if Ward-Prowse left and more disappointed, to be honest. So if he signs for Villa, don't ask me to come on here again.
I won't put you through that torture again. Well, Glenn, listen, thank you so much for popping on to chat about Danny Ings.
No worries.
Some really, really good stuff there. Do you want to? I know that a lot of people who listen to this podcast are like when Villa are playing Spurs, Southampton, whoever the hell they're playing, they will listen to our podcasts, the week leading up to see what the story is from the other side of the fence. So do you want to just plug the podcast Total Saints?
There, sure. So I do stuff for Total Saints Podcast, which is on Twitter at Total Saints Pod. I've been involved for it's probably about 3 years now, and we've managed to do a lot of good stuff interviewing people from around the club. We've had Ralph on, we've had Martin Simmons, the CEO, on. We've interviewed Laurie McMenemy, our sort of legendary manager from the 70s and 80s. So we've managed to sort of like establish quite a good sort of like relationship with the club itself, and managed to get people on. We, the old got a guy called Matt Crocker, who's like the head of football development. We've had him on, and so we've done a lot of good stuff over the last few years. It's not just idiot fans like me just rambling on. We do manage to get some people who actually know what they're talking about, so we're going into this season sort of like looking forward to the podcast, but it's always the same with Saints. You're always a little bit apprehensive about how it's going to go. So Total Saints Pod, wherever you get your podcasts, we're on there. We're doing our first recording of this season on Sunday.
Excellent.
So we've got a friendly against Bilbao on Saturday, and we're previewing the season. I'll no doubt regurgitate half the stuff I've said about Danny Ings, but from a slightly different point of view.
Exactly.
So we're going to do that, and personally, I write a blog called League One -10, which you can Google, which is slightly irreverent and got quite a lot of swearing in it. And I've been doing that for 12 years now, so it kind of serves as a bit of a document. So the name League One -10 came from
when you guys were in the league.
Absolutely, when we were in League One, and we got deducted 10 points for being skint, and that was when I started the blog, because I was bored. And funnily enough, I was in Ireland when I did that, because I had nothing else to do apart from go to the pub. So that kept me out of the pub for a little bit. So that's kind of my story with it.
As a good endeavor if it's still going 12 years later.
I
wish you the best of it going forward, because I love all that fan-led stuff, especially like a chronicle over the years. So I'll definitely check it out. Well, Glenn, thank you so much for popping on. Thanks so much to everybody for listening to the podcast, for everything you do. Please like and share and subscribe, whether it be on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms. Thanks so much. Here's looking forward to Danny Ings and maybe getting to see him in Villa shirt over the coming days, even though our last preseason friendly against Sevilla is now cancelled. Hopefully we will get some news of some closed door friendly or something like that will happen, and we get to see if Danny Ings is in the team. But until then, as I say once again, Glenn, thank you so much for popping on.
No problem.
And all that's left to say to you guys at home is up the Villa. And I always forget the fucking outro.